Hello everyone and welcome to the Commexis Cast Daily, all the news you need to know from our inbox to yours. I'm McGrorty, the videographer and podcaster here at Commexis, and today I am joined by the lead strategist at Commexis, Phillip Brooks.
Good morning.
So our two stories today focus a little bit on Facebook and instant articles, one more so than the other. The first is by Pete Brown on the Columbia Journalism Review. He did a study that basically looked at how often some of the beginning publishers, those who came onto instant articles from the onset, how often they're still using them. So of the 72 publishers that Facebook identified as original partners in May and October 2015, his analysis of 2,308 links posted on the Facebook page on January 17th, 2018, found that 38 publications did not post a single instant article. So as I mentioned to Philip before the show, typically I like to see some stats that go over a span of time, which we'll get to in a second, but I understand the reasoning for this quick snapshot of 2018, which is if instant articles are as important to some publications as you will find out they are, it's very telling that in a 12-hour period, not a single one had been posted. So there's a couple things to that. Just to continue on, those that did post instant articles, they found of the links analyzed, about 1,491, which is about two-thirds, went to a publisher's homepage, which left the other 817 as instant articles. And this kind of ties in to what the report mentions of some criticism of instant articles, such as, they're underwhelming in terms of monetization, they have limited user data, they have underwhelming options for subscription-based outlets, many of whom are the ones that are not using instant articles anymore. So I think it's definitely telling that people are more willing to post links to their own publisher's website to link back to as referral traffic rather than an instant article, though there's certainly many publications who do use instant articles. So going on to some over time analysis. They looked at the New York Times, Vox, and Washington Post over a span of time from April 2016 to November 2017, and found that by February of 2017, the New York Times had completely stopped posting on instant articles. Vox was shortly thereafter. The Washington Post was shortly thereafter in August of 2017, and Vox had less than 10% in November, which is to say that a lot of big publishers, and specifically some with some subscription-based services, for example, the New York Times, the Washington Post, et cetera, they do not like that instant articles are supposed to be free, and you're supposed to be able to read them that way. So they found that most publishers like that, are not using instant articles. However, there are still, Facebook said it in a statement, 10,000 publishers around the world using instant articles, growing over 25% in the last 6 months alone, and that was in August of 2017, which would indicate to me, and while Facebook doesn't necessarily give out these numbers, that a lot of sort of local publications are using these things pretty successfully, as we can see in some other stats that you'll be seeing. The New York Daily News, for example, basically only posts in mobile articles onto their Facebook page, instant articles rather. They post, let me see. They post over 90% of their instant articles in 2017. Links on Facebook were instant articles. And there's a couple stats, for example, the Washington Post, Vice News, New York Times, and Chicago Tribune. While they posted a little bit in 2016 using instant articles, by 2017 they had completely stopped. The Wall Street Journal, Los Angeles Times, and Vox are also under 10%. And then the publishers that are using instant articles, for example, the New York Daily News, BuzzFeed, Fox News, HuffPost, and BuzzFeed News and BuzzFeed rather, all seem to post 80% or more. So there's a lot of non-subscription based and to some extent millennial-leaning publications that are definitely taking advantage of this quick loading. So what do we think about this, Phil?
Well, I think we've all seen this push towards the quicker loading stuff. Obviously, Google has their own version with the accelerated mobile pages and AMP pages. But I think it really comes down to, again, when you're using Facebook, is this really of providing a value add for you as a publisher? And clearly it's not, especially for some of these larger, more established publishers. Now you've got some of these people that are that are poised to kind of disrupt that model, and you're seeing a lot more use of them by them. BuzzFeed, those kinds of channels, things like that. But we know that BuzzFeed is really, really big into their actual engagement metrics. They're looking at that stuff every single day, and they judge a lot of the actual performance of their content based on these metrics. And I don't think you're going to see a lot of that same kind of metrics applied to a success ratio as you would for the Washington Post or things like that. I think it becomes for them kind of well, do we really need to go through all this extra effort to send people, to send traffic not even to our homepage? So, if you're trying to get subscriptions for your model, I don't know if this is the best channel for you to do it, especially again if you're driving people to Facebook and not your homepage. But I do think that anything that helps a page load faster, that helps a page be more optimized for mobile viewing, is good for the consumer in the long run. I just don't know that if I'm a publisher, am I getting the value from this service that I should be, especially considering it's supposed to be free and it's not working out that way.
Exactly. And one of the things that we've mentioned in the past in terms of Facebook's new update to their algorithm, talking about engagement, I mean, I don't know how often a New York Times article is necessarily getting the amount of engagement that maybe a BuzzFeed article or BuzzFeed video or something like that might be getting. So I think that's definitely another key thing to think about is, if you're a subscription service, if Facebook is now going to weigh you on, well, how often are you being engaged with? Something like BuzzFeed or even local publications, as mentioned, tend to get more engagement.
Well, and take a look at some of the sites that you're seeing drop off here. Almost all of the ones that Matt mentioned are behind a soft paywall, which means that they have a limited number of articles available to you in a month, usually in a 30-day span. So if you're sending people to the Facebook page, you're not having them count against their monthly limit of articles. So you're basically you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're working on that soft paywall subscription model. So I can absolutely see another reason why those people wouldn't be participating in that kind of content and using it.
Yeah, absolutely. And our second story for today kind of piggybacks onto the instant articles. Max Willens on Digiday wrote a nice little piece on Flipboard, and they're working and teaming up with certain publishers to get more referral traffic to the actual publisher's website. So Flipboard earlier, I believe it was last week, basically had a full print page ad in newspapers, including, I believe it was the New York Times and a couple others. Basically, obviously advertising for people to come and use the mobile app. And one of the things that Flipboard is doing is, rather than doing a sort of instant article Facebook-esque thing, they're allowing publishers to drive referral traffic from the app directly to their site as long as it is optimized for mobile. So here's one example. The Next Web was publishing all of its content on Flipboard using its proprietary format and started using it for referral traffic in November. And after the switch, Flipboard immediately leapfrogged Facebook, where the Next Web has over 1 million fans, and Twitter 1.85 million followers, to become its top source of social referral traffic, despite the fact that the Next Web has just over 181,000 followers on Flipboard. That is not to say that Flipboard is necessarily beating out Google and Facebook in terms of users. It is not. The monthly active user base is about 100 million, which is less than 5% of Facebook's 2.1 billion. Though one thing that the article mentions is that they don't necessarily have a specific age group demographic for Flipboard. It's kind of a mixed bag, which I think actually works to its benefit. One of the things that we've talked about in the past with Instagram, for example, it's about even, give or take.
It's a good cross-section.
Yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. In addition, mobile referral traffic from Flipboard is up over 350% since May, though obviously they have a smaller user base, so keep that in mind. And then Flipboard also works with special stories from publishers such as NBC News, The Wall Street Journal, and E! In times when they don't necessarily just want to link back to their publisher's main website. So I think this is one of many potential options that publishers can sort of work with, because Flipboard, it seems like, and one of the other things I mentioned in the article is that Flipboard is very good at listening to what publishers need and want. I think this is one of many potential ways that publishers can sort of get back into that mobile posting.
Yeah, well, I think this to me isn't necessarily a direct competitor to a social media platform.
Absolutely.
I think to me it's more of a news aggregator, and what it does is kind of take out that social media interactive aspect to it, which, you know, there's a lot of weariness to that right now. There's a lot of people that are getting tired of hearing what everybody else's opinion is on something. I just want to curate my news feed. I just want to know what I want to know about that's tagged in what I want to learn about, and I don't necessarily need the commentary of my friends and family on stuff. So I think that this kind of can signal a little bit of a return to just like the way the old RSS feeds used to work, and you could really just wake up in the morning and look and see all the news that you think that you need, you know, that's been curated for you, and you get to pick the channels and the outlets and the topics. And I think that's, you know, a bigger piece. I mean, certainly people use the news feed on Facebook and on Twitter as their news aggregators, and I know Len always speaks quite highly of Twitter, but I personally agree with that. I'm kind of sick of seeing what my friends have to say about every single news story in a lot of ways. So, you know, it's nice to just have that unfiltered view without all of the lenses being applied to it of, you know, your social commentary around it.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think we see that a lot with the success of Apple News as well, which I hadn't even really known about until probably 5 months ago, but it's been doing very well, I think, in part because of that, alongside its ability to, first of all, be on all iPhones, but also I think there's, to some extent, platforms being willing, hey, you know, publishers, we're going to help you out in this regard. That might get you a little more traffic than necessarily a Facebook post might, especially given the new algorithm.
Yep, agreed.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to today's episode of the Commexis Cast Daily. Check us out tomorrow for more of the latest trending news. Have a great day.